Let me see. Broomfield, Colorado. And then you can see Maysville. So that's quite northeast, and you see that a lot in these cases. You look at them over and over and over again, and whenever someone who is suspected of a crime wants to cover his tracks or her tracks, they tend to go in the opposite direction just to throw people off. And so, and in this case, she would be found south and right by Moffat, right here, a mining town. So, uh, now so much Aquarius here, and the thing about it is, let's go a little bit closer here. Let's take a look at Moffat. I mean, look at that. I mean, I guess there are homes there. I mean, where? Okay, well, we've got some little areas here, a Dollar General. Um, doesn't look like much. Now here's Sogach here, and looks like a little town here, maybe. There we go. So, but I believe they said Moffat. So, I mean, it is just astounding to me that in this type of terrain, and that they would just happen upon this. I almost feel like maybe we're not being told everything. What do you think? There's something missing here that you don't just go searching for another body and just happen along the most really famous missing person in the last couple of years. What do you guys think? Uh, Broomfield is 10 minutes away from your home. Okay. Yep. And yeah, with the tranquilizer dart, I exactly. I don't think there was any reason to have one. That was part of the whole case. Uh, yeah. So it just doesn't sit right with me. There, I don't think they just happened upon this. There's got to be something else to this. So I'm going to share this. Hang on one second. All right. So this is the 911 chart. It looks pretty complicated, so I apologize. In fact, I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. Well, that makes it worse. Okay. Uh, with all of this mess, I mean, this is when the 911 call. I don't always trust 911 calls because sometimes they're fake. So, so in this case, the axis is Libra Aries, Libra being the victim, uh, usually someone who is very beautiful or attractive. And then on the other side of it is uh, Aries. And so, oh, it's so interesting how Moon is about to go into Aries now. So it's kind of like it's spotlighting the seventh house, which would be the house of the perp. And so Mars in this chart would be Barry, and he's down there in the fourth house. He was in the home. I mean, not necessarily Barry, but the perp. If it was Barry, um, it would be in the home in the fourth house, and so looks a lot like, because there's a trine to the north node up at the top there, usually shows that somehow his alibi checks out, at least at first. So that is something. And the other thing, too, is Uranus is right in the seventh house of perp. Usually means that there's something that's sudden, it's shocking, it's sudden anger. And also, it can show divorce. This was one of the old charts that I used with Grace when she was on. And interesting in the third house how Pluto and Moon are together. Whenever you see that, and then on top of it, you have Jupiter, which is an emphasizer. We've got tons of emphasizers, and then you've got the Moon, which shows massive fame. This wouldn't just be any ordinary case. This would be something that would captivate the world, the public, and you could see there's a T square with the Moon. Oh, that's interesting. There's a T square with the moon, which is in the third house. Now, the moon sometimes can show a missing person, but at 8 degrees can show a grave. But you would think it being in the third house that it would be local because third house is local. So obviously it wasn't, it's in another county. You would have to look at Saturn in Uranus. So, and Saturn is the remains, Uranus is broken up. Um, in the fourth house is very interesting that something happened where maybe, I don't even want to say the D word, but something was happening where something split. And the other thing too is you can see that straight up and down red line there. It's kind of like from the top to the bottom with Saturn at the bottom, and it shows that you're going south or the remains are going south. Normally in an astrology chart, you wouldn't say that because astrologers will look at uh, the bottom of the chart as north and flip over. It's basically opposite. When you're looking to the right, that's not east, it's west, and it gets all complicated. But sometimes these charts are pretty simple, and that's the reason I brought up the Jamie Claus abduction, because the perp was, and I circled it up here, Uranus, and they went directly north. And so the perp there in the descendant, or representing the descendant, that is up at the top. So, meaning they went north, and they did, and it was hard to figure out where they went because it it wasn't like you couldn't normally map that one. That was a very difficult one unless you just looked at Uranus, and that made it kind of simple. So, Janice says, "It's a miracle they found her. Two-third physics said she was near a waterfall, or two out of three psychics said she was near a waterfall or in brick, a wall. Now I doubt what they think and say." Yeah. Well, we're gonna have to take a look and see. I mean, there was that rumor about being around a mine, but Moffat's a mining town, so that doesn't really give us real specifics. Patty, I didn't know that. Wow, 106 inhabitants. There is some more information we're going to find out. I'll tell you that. My daughter lives in Cannon City. I go there once a week, so much open space land. So, oh, so Speculation Station and Janice Coons, they both live near there. So interesting. Yes, Bushi. The whole thing is jaw dropping, and it's like, okay, we're going to need to know a little bit more now. Um, in the brush, found in sage. Uh, it is going to come out. I'm going to give it another month, and they're going to have to come out with something. So, do we? Yes. Yep. Psychics. I knew what you meant. Um, that's right. Remember when they said she's in a difficult spot? So it was almost like when law enforcement were talking about it months ago. It was just recently. They said she was in a difficult spot. So I'll tell you what, anybody just searching was going to have a hard time. It was going to have to be destiny, I guess. So let's look at, I want to see, let's look at the solar return chart for Suzanne real quick. And then I want to go and look at how the police could have found her in the chart. But when I have readings, I used to do this way back in the day. I would see a solar chart and I would see those red lines there, and you would have to identify that one planet is the husband or partner, which would be Jupiter, and which is now I'm just this is my opinion, and it's a possibility. It's a possibility among a few possibilities, but when you see husband and there's that big red line between him and the planet that represents you, in this case, Suzanne, uh, I would say he needs to go to therapy. You both need to go to counseling. There's some dark days ahead. Be careful. But it looks like some change is coming. If I saw that now, I just absolutely come out and say, go, run away, get out of there now, because this is going to be your year. And of course, Suzanne couldn't possibly have known. But here's her solar chart, and it shows a huge, huge shock. Uranus is shock with that arrow pointed at the bottom there in the second house too. And I really think that that it had to do with divorce money, because Uranus is divorce, second house is money. I think that's a possibility. So, all those planets in the 12th house of hidden enemies, and also look at how Saturn is in the 12th house, also representing Suzanne. And that would mean solitary confinement, uh, disappearing, not being where people can see her. So, you can see that. Oh, hey, Rainbow Dreams, good to see you. Uh, yeah, you can't tell a narcissist you're leaving them. I agree. Um, so, okay, fortune in Sagittarius. Um, yeah, you would look at that and you would see that, yeah, she would be fortunate in the sense that she would be able to gain some freedom. But really, you know what? You can see how fortune is sextiling the planet that represents um, the Aries, or the partner. And so that would indicate that the person that year, anyway, that's her solar year, would be successful in his pursuit of whatever he did that year. So Ellie was looking for the missing lady, and they found a man's remains, and that Suzanne's seems like a location known to one person to hide bodies. I agree. I see that Venus is down there, and and that's the end of the matter. Sometimes we think about it as home. Well, it's the end of the matter. And it sure looks like, look at how Mars in the 12th house trines the fourth house. And and Venus is in there. Venus is a woman. And what's that? In Gemini, two women. So possible maybe that the police are able to find two or more women, because Gemini can be a group. And let's see, what does Venus represent? Venus represents the third house, which can be locals or people from the neighborhood that are that the police are finding. So that's a possibility. Um, well, Angel D, you're doing pretty well. And yeah, so you can, in these solar charts, it's not always that if you've got a trine to part of fortune, that it means that you are going to be successful. You have to look at what area it is pointing to see what is actually going to work. And I'll tell you what, look at how it's pointing to Black Moon Lilith. I constantly talk about Black Moon Lilith, and it's right next to Chiron, which means very dark, dark activities, wounds, bruises, cuts. So, with that being said, I wanted to go over to Yeah. Let's go over to this page. And this was a while ago. I mean, this was way back in 2021, but interesting to hear some of the old details. Barry Morphew, the husband of missing Colorado mother Suzanne Morphew, has been arrested in Chaffee County on multiple charges, including first degree murder. And almost a year after Suzanne was first reported missing, according to court documents. Barry, 53, was arrested Wednesday on charges of first degree murder after deliberation, tampering with physical evidence, and an attempt to influence a public servant, according to documents. No, he doesn't seem guilty. The offense date for these charges is listed as May 10th, 2020. The Chaffee County Jail confirmed he is an inmate, or at least he was at the time. He was taken into custody without incident at 9:15 near his home in Poncha Springs. So that's when he was living at his old house. During an afternoon press conference, Betsy said investigators executed more than 135 search warrants, interviewed more than 400 people in different states, and looked into more than 1,400 tips during the course of the investigation. Um, this isn't like Moscow, although Moscow so far seems to have gotten their man. Lots of stuff that might not be helpful to the case, though. Here, it looks like they were much stronger in this case. They were able to do things a lot faster, and I'm saying that because of her solar chart, because there was so many trines to Mars, the planet that represents police. So that's how we can usually tell if law enforcement are going to do well with the case. So, but of course, they had to drop everything. So, that's more the government, that's the sun, but still it looks like the police really did a lot of searching on this case or in this case. So we believe that she is not alive. We've filed first degree murder charges or are in the process of filing first degree murder charges. So our belief is that Suzanne is not alive at this time. Uh, okay. And so that was a long time ago, but I just wanted to, you know, be reminded of what he had done. It wasn't just, the initial suspicion. It was that he tampered with physical evidence, and then, of course, an attempt to influence a public servant. So I'm not sure what that's all about, or if that became public later. I wanted to also look at this one. This was the bike that belonged to Suzanne, and she's a big biker. She recently started mountain biking, excuse me, and would wear sunglasses or bike helmet. And so this was her purse on the passenger seat of her Range Rover. And so some of the text messages, I don't know if you'll recall, how are things at home right now? Her friend asked. And he changes. It changes like the wind as usual. Long text this morning of apology and declaration. It's sad. I feel bad. I don't want to cause him to have to do this. There's just become a point that the reality of what's never been there is sobering. And I've accepted what is. He can't change the core person. It makes me wonder what the young me was thinking. And her friend says, does he feel that reality too? And she says, I was a broken girl just looking for stability and no confidence in who I was. He thinks we are great as long as he's getting what he wants. And so her friend says, the young us can't see past the outside of things. That's the wisdom they told us about what we would have when we got older. I wish there was a way to have more of that and in our younger years. I have regrets, she says, but Mal and Macy are the sweetest parts to this. No mistakes there. So very true. And then she goes on with her conversation with her friend. So those weren't the only texts uncovered by investigators. A text from May 6, 2020, on Morphew's phone that had been deleted reveals what FBI agent Johnny Grusing believes was a significant step on Suzanne's part to leave her husband. "I'm done. I could care less what you're up to and have been for years." There it is, right there. We just need to figure this out civilly. And I know you guys remember seeing that. So, based off of a theory presented by investigators in the arrest affidavit, prosecutors believe a tranquilizer dart may have been used in the commission of the alleged crime. Documents show tranquilizer dart material was found in the Morpheus garage. The needle sheath cap was located inside the dryer, which is super sketchy. Usually after you're washing your clothes and the dart's in there with the clothes. Maybe not your clothes, but somebody else's clothes. Investigators believe Morphew shot Suzanne with a tranquilizer dart, chased her around the house before he allegedly killed her, then hit her body. However, the tranquilizer gun investigators found was not working. Morphew claims he uses the tranquilizer darts and gun to sedate deer and remove their antlers. Morphew's cell phone and digital forensics information from Morphew's truck, both released in court documents, show his whereabouts during the week of Suzanne's disappearance. The photos below, and this is from Fox 21 quite a while ago, show pinpoints where his cell phone pinged around the house on Saturday, May 9th. When FBI agents asked Morphew why he'd been running around that way, he said he was shooting chipmunks. So, and there's, uh, where all of the different directions were. I guess he had his phone on him when he was, maybe chasing her. So it's hard to think about. The prosecution believes Morphew switched his phone to airplane mode on the day Suzanne was murdered. Investigators believe she was killed on May 9th, the day before she was reported missing. So, one reason, as I said, when you're trying to pull a chart, the 911 call is okay if you really trust who put the call in. You can still get information, but it's better to have maybe like a last text from a friend. So on May 9th, Morphew replaced one of the blades on his Bobcat skid steer loader. And so there it is right there. Why would you do that? Click here to view the telematic information on that equipment. Oh, I don't know if you want to review that or not, but interesting. Let's see here. Yeah, so I think that's pretty much it. Such a shame. So yeah, they were looking, but not for her. Exactly. So yeah, I'm sure they're sitting in his front yard watching him now, I bet, but they'd have to be in another state because he's not there anymore. Um, yeah, I think so too. I think they're closing in on him. Um, Husband, from what we understand, has not been arrested. They would have to, obviously the autopsy is pretty important at this point, and of course, as we know, it takes weeks. So it's not an easy type of thing. So yeah, I was looking. This is from my old slide, so I don't want to put you through all of that. But this is the actual last scene on May 9th in 2020. And first of all, before I even look at this, we're in Jupiter retrograde, and Jupiter means to search. So when we go through a retrograde, we basically go back in time, especially when we're looking for something, and we go back and we revise and we look again. It's just like Mercury retrograde with documents. So now was the time to really sift through all of the information about where she might be, where her remains are. So, so this was her last scene. She was in Virgo. So Virgo is just doing normal things. Might have been, I don't know, working from home, uh, cleaning. Sometimes Virgo can mean somebody is cleaning, But, from what we understand, she was by the pool, and they had a potential argument at the pool. So, I would look to see where Mercury is. It's up in the ninth house, but it's just, over and over, we see Mercury at 25 degrees Taurus, which is Algol, and that's the devil degree. So she was in a part of Taurus where usually people are strangled to death. And so you can see that. Look at all those blue lines, just lots of lots of energy there where, a lot of fifth house family situations. When you have Saturn in the fifth, that can show a sadness in the family. And there's a stellium. A stellium means a lot of symbols, and it's in the fifth house there. So she is, it looks like, you look at trines like that with her up there in the ninth house. It sure seems like she's going someplace long distance, doesn't it? With Mercury in the ninth. And, or she could be, and we talked about this way back, she was talking. Mercury can be communicating with someone long distance, ninth house. So there's a possibility she was talking to, her new boyfriend or a person of interest that she liked. So, and it just happened to fall on Algol, which, like I said, rules strangulation. And Barry's right up there at the top of that chart. Mercury, since he's so close to Mercury, can show that he can hear. Mercury is to listen. People who have Gemini and Virgo very strong in their charts, they're really good eavesdroppers. They can listen. They can do harm. Let's just say that they just have this superpower of being able to hear, within like a whole house, they could overhear something. Not to say that he was a Gemini or a Virgo, but it just looked, this is the last seen chart. It just seems like he is right there and able to see what she is up to. And yeah, there's just a whole lot of stuff. She's squaring. She's very angry, it seems like, because Mars is in the sixth, and you can see that square to Mercury, which is Suzanne at that moment. There is so much anger. And so, what's across the way from Virgo is Pisces. And so that would represent Barry. And Barry is, so he is Jupiter, and he is also Neptune. So, you know, remember there was that spy pen. So Neptune can show spying. And I'm sure that there was a spy pen going, and it was in the seventh house there. So somebody's listening to somebody. There's just a lot of strategic stuff going on because one person wants one thing in the marriage and the other person wants the other. So it looks as if Mercury, look at how in the ninth house is packed with the sun, and Uranus is like a big explosion. And so it's just, it it looks pretty nasty. Um, and we had looked at the hearing before, so that is pretty much all I wanted to talk about, which was some of the past charts. And I'm going to go through, hang on one second. Yeah, I think her solar return was so interesting. And there he is. It's amazing how relationships can go downhill so fast. And uh, Suzanne might have told friends that it was um, a long marriage of discord. Maybe it wasn't so fast, but that year looked really, really bad. and I think they were both just waiting for their children to get older. So, oh, well, thank you, Gloria. That is so sweet. I'm so mad that I was just doing this so fast to get on the air that I spelled her name wrong. But in the thumbnail, you will see that it does say Suzanne. I know, Toy. That chart was loaded. Let me see what else here. Yeah, I know everybody's confused. They're like, why is Jamie Kloss up there? But it was like, we just could not figure out where she was. And so there was that straight up and down, um, there's just this, um, it was like a clue, she went north. So here it's the same thing. It's kind of like Saturn is at the bottom. That's the remains. Now with Jamie, we weren't talking about remains. So we had to really focus on a planet that was not Saturn. And we focused more on the seventh house lord, which was Uranus. But I wonder if there is an airport near Moffat. I want to look at, I want to share my screen again. Let's see, not this one. Hold on. I want to look at Moffat one more time. Okay. 1 second. Okay, here we go. So this is Maysville, Colorado to Broomfield, Colorado. And what um, okay, hopefully you can see that. Oh, let me move my head. All right, so this is Sagatch, okay? And it is, okay, so yeah, so there's the airport. That was a big clue in her chart with Aquarius so prominent. Aquarius is going to mean places that are way high up. We also see Uranus and Aquarius when something's up in the roof or in the attic. So especially when Uranus is in the fourth house, that can be something, sometimes it's not always the person too. Sometimes, you're going to map something and it will map to something. It might just be a clue. It might be clothing. It might be tools that were used or weapons. Sometimes it's not always the person. So, so yeah, there we go. We have the airport there. So it'll be really interesting to see where um, where she was found there. So I guess what he did, it seems like, let me read here. Investigators believe the scene was staged, and days later they discovered Suzanne's helmet roughly a mile away off Highway 50. The helmet was found on the south side of the road, and they were thinking that somebody might have thrown it out the window. So from 2:47 p.m. until 10:17, now I'm thinking this is on May 9th, just under 8 hours, Barry's phone goes into airplane mode. And I'm reading, it looks like some kind of this is from Facebook, but it looks like an interview between Peter Van Sant and Ashley Franco. So what do authorities believe happened during that time? And the answer is authorities say that they believe when his phone went into airplane mode that he was disposing of possible evidence. So unable to track Barry's cell phone, investigators tapped into a relatively new investigative technique, digital vehicle forensics, to pull a stream of data out of Barry's Ford truck. And Barry's truck told a different story than what he was telling investigators. So that was their, I think, one of the big things they were talking about early on. And, some of the evidence I think they were discussing in that first case. So it's good to know that they can still bring, if it is Barry, they can still bring it back to court. So, um, oh no. I'm so sorry to hear that. And I have had a lot of people write to me. This has been a tough week. A lot of people lost their jobs. Um, you know, it's these retrogrades. And if it makes anybody feel better, um, oh, you said, Gloria says Sue, uh, Sugach. I've heard Sogach. So, very interesting, different pronunciation. So, yeah, small airport in Broomfield too. So that's a whole different direction. Maybe it's not too different. It's still south. No, it's north. So yeah, there's airports all around. But I'd be interested to see. Hello, sorry. It the Broomfield thing, that in itself was a way to get away. So I wonder if he had just gone initially 45 minutes south to Sagach and then booked it north. But they're going to have some kind of digital imprint of where he went. And if it's in that area, they're gonna bring him in, I think. He better pack his bags. So, hey, Shelly, nice to see you. Oh gosh, Shelly, why are you Gloria B? Well, I guess we all do that. I didn't know that you were Gloria B this whole time. So, Janice, the Reckoning Company, is it? It's one of the best channelers on YouTube. I've been following her for a year with the Idaho 4 case. I really like her channel. That is, I agree with you on that one. And that reminds me, I have a really great guest coming on Friday night. And her name is Jennifer Brazier, and she is a phenomenal psychic. I mean, let me tell you, you get goosebumps talking to her. So we're going to look into this shocking news announcement the other day that 1,000 kids are missing in Ohio, and 50 kids are missing in a short period of time up there in one area. I think it's Cleveland. So we are going to go through and see if we can get some clues. She already gave me some clues today, and she thinks it is a very big deal, and that the kids did not run away. These kids were abducted. So a very interesting show. One of the visions that she got was a ballroom. And so they are bringing these kids into this ballroom, somehow tricking them, according to Jennifer. So we're going to check that out a little bit. So I really like this channel. Comfortable here and have met great people. Yeah, everybody's so great on here. Hi, Karen. Yeah, we don't really usually get trolls because I usually kick them out. Summer Rae, Val, I'd like to see John Baisley come on with you again. I love that video you guys did together. He's the best. I really like him. He's been busy. I haven't heard from him lately, but I would definitely like to have him on. He is a student of Tony Stockwell's, and I believe so is Jennifer Brazier, or she's worked with Tony and has done amazing, amazing work. That's Tony Stockwell has a psychic school up in New York, I think it is. So very well-known guy. But you'll get chills when you listen to Jennifer on Friday night. So let's see. I think that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about. Psychic Sleuth, that's another good one. I'll have to check that out. Rachel, always interested in knowing what you think about psychics. I like to have, I mean, you'll notice that the psychics that I have on are, they're pretty impressive. So I want to continue along that, that path. So, and exactly. Troll-free zone, thank you. Um, I kicked some of them out. Let's see if, let me look at one more thing here. Let's see. It's just, I mean, are you shocked? It's just, there's so much the story. It kind of reminds me of Moscow, Idaho, because I feel like there's so much that, and it's kind of like the same thing. Like, what is going on? Let's see the latest here. Yeah. So 3 years after she was last seen, um, they're just all reporting the same thing. You wonder what her daughters are thinking at this point. And, if they're on the phone with their dad, and if they're ecstatic and they're thinking that they can move forward. You wonder how, they seem like a pretty solid unit. They don't want to lose their dad too. So, and I think that they've had a hard time because a lot of people have criticized. Can you imagine losing your mom and then being criticized so much because of their loyalty to their father? So that's a whole other story in itself. So thanks, Summary. Yes, please hit the like button, guys, and subscribe, and please join too. I give reading discounts for the members, and sometimes the subscribers, but more for the members, the valedictorians. So please feel free to join. And I'm going to be doing a lot more coming up with Jennifer Brazier, and we're going to be doing some things with Plutonic Desire, and that's a lady you're going to really like. She is amazing with tarot. So got a few people in the queue. So you're going to see some new faces in the next couple of weeks. I was kind of waiting for the retrograde to end, honestly. So, and now I feel like things are starting to move forward a little bit. And yeah, Shelley, you're going to have to get a new laptop, and that's coming. I think so. So, and Ashley does tarot, but likes to be recognized with her gift as channeling. So yeah, there's some good channeling people on here. So let me take a look here. She, you can see this. There's Broomfield. And then we have, okay, so here's Maze. This is Maysville. And I believe it was up here. You can see that. You see it like a little bit northwest was where they found the bike. And okay, let me see. Yeah, there's where her house was. I always saw Monarch there. That's such a Pluto name, Monarch. So something that I would keep in mind there, where it can show, uh, death and death and transformation, and it is. So that's where she lived. And so I'm thinking on May 9th. So he was gone for 7 hours, which gives him a lot of time to dispose of evidence. And remember, there were some pictures, I believe, of him coming out of the hotel with garbage bags, if you'll recall that. Let me see here. Yeah, it's not on that one, but it was, there's just one thing after another with him. And, it seems like this is a major, major development that is going to help this case. So let's hope. All right. Well, I'm going to continue to, keep an eye on the news and we'll jump on possibly, tomorrow night, definitely Friday night to see Jennifer. She's going to be on, I'll be on here 9, so it'll be 7 her time on, where is she? She's in the Northwest. I was going to say her state, but I'm not sure she wants me to do that. So she will be coming on 7 p.m. Pacific, and I'll be on 9 p.m. Central, which is 10 p.m. Eastern. So I hope you can stay up with us if you're on the East Coast. And yes, that's a good point. Pluto. So right there we see Monarch is Pluto, and then within a minute we're talking about how he was taking those trash bags out. Angel D, you are very good at connecting these things. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of Pluto clues here. Let's take a look at it just for fun. It's the 911 call. Well, Pluto, at least for the 911 call, it's conjunct Jupiter, which means a lot. And it can mean the significant others. So significant others trash. And third house, well, the third house is the yard. And trining, there, look at how much energy is going through to the 8th house of death. And Barry is in there. So and when you see those names, those are the name asteroids. So you're seeing the Barry name asteroid, and he is in the 8th house. So can show that maybe he is familiar with the person who killed Suzanne, because the 8th house represents the murderer. And isn't that interesting that you can get a description of the murderer at the 8th house cusp, and it is right on Algol again. So, so it's almost like the 911 call. Now that was the neighbor, I think, that called, or maybe it was the daughter. I don't believe it was Barry. Usually, I mean, I always find that suspicious when the spouse doesn't call, or if the spouse doesn't talk to police or talk to the press. It's usually a big red flag there. So so yeah, it looks like that 8th house is packed for the 911 call, and at that point Suzanne is dead. 22 degrees is the killed degree. So it's tough. So now, yeah, I know. All those red lines, yeah. So this is, and in her solar chart too, we have got what is her open enemy that year. That would have been 2020. So she had just turned 48 in April. And so, here's another thing about solar charts. When you have a lot of activity in the first 3 houses, this is all I'm saying. I'm just saying I see this in my readings. It usually means that whatever is happening is going to happen early in the year, those first few months of the year. If all of that is happening, in the 11th, 10th, 9th area, it's going to happen more mid-year to the fall. So this really reflects what happened when she was going through all of this. And it just looks like a mess. And it was within, less than a month with her next birthday, with her April 2020. Yeah. So it would have been just a matter of days. And this whole thing went down. So just terrible. Thanks, Summary. Yeah, I love the Omens one. I hope you can check that out. And see, I think that's pretty much it. I think I've covered everything, and I've just basically we've gone over this very little information, but we tried our best. So no, just I think we were just talking about algol. Algol is 26 degrees Taurus. We usually find algol uh, in 20 degrees or more. So, and that can pop up in your chart, in your solar chart. It can be on any cusp, and that's going to represent something that you encounter that year. So if it's on the 11th house cusps, and I'm talking about uh, Taurus right there. But if so, Taurus was on the 10th, it would be like somebody, in your career that might be acting a little weird and devious. It's usually somebody who's devious and does something very, very bad, like just almost shockingly bad sometimes. And I never like to see when it's on the 7th house cusp, because usually it means somebody is doing something. It can be addictions, gambling, drinking. Just suddenly you don't recognize the person. And it's a very difficult year. So you kind of have to take caution. So anyway, yeah. So great to see you all. Thank you again for joining, if you've joined already. And we're going to be on, remember, definitely on Friday night. If I have energy, I will come on tomorrow night and maybe talk about any new developments in this case. But great to see everyone. And if you're interested in forensic astrology, please go to Amazon, and you can get my book, Forensic Astrology 101, using timestamps to investigate unsolved mysteries. And then also go to my Instagram. I just put up some new charts and new posts there, so take a look at that. So yeah, this, you definitely want to research alcohol and then cleanse yourself, because that's the devil part of the zodiac, and it's not fun, and everybody has to deal with it at one point in their life, and sometimes many times in their life. So it's just something to keep an eye out for, and know that if it's in a certain part of your chart, you just stay away from it that year. So I think a lot of people do. Yeah, you need to know a little bit of astrology first. So, well, great to see everybody, and I will be back on Friday. Talk to you soon.